Hi, I'm Esther, and today I want to show you how I use collaging as a meaningful and fun activity that lets me connect more deeply with myself and with others. Personally, I find collaging so fun and practical because it lets me repurpose trash, repurpose recyclables, it lets me exercise my creative muscles, and to make fun designs that I can then use for cards, letters, or decorative purposes. I especially love collaging with others because I get to see how different people can take the same supplies and make something completely different from what I would come up with. So whether it's by yourself or with others, I invite you to join me in gathering some supplies for collaging. You can get everything you need for collaging in your home. Like I said, all you have to do is look in your recycling bin for old magazines, basically anything with some sort of color, texture, design. In my case, I had this calendar that had pictures for every month, and so I cut those up and I portioned them out because there were lots of gorgeous, bright colors. And if you think about it, all of these photos that we see in magazines, calendars, this is genuine art that a photographer curated, and we actually have so much beautiful art in our home at any given moment. If you get really into collaging and you want to curate more supplies, I highly recommend two sources that are completely free and also recycling and reusing from the community. The first is the library. If you go to any library, they usually have a section where they're selling packets of magazines or selling old materials. For example, in my local library, you can pay 50 cents and get a bundle of magazines. Another really cool artist hack is to go to a wallpaper store or anywhere that sells wallpaper and ask for their discontinued wallpaper samples. So any place that sells wallpaper often has these big booklets with big sheets of paper that people can flip through, and there's so much beautiful paper in there and it's very nice quality. And that is something I learned from my old art professor at Grinnell. Other than paper, you will need some sort of adhesive, so glue, a glue stick, liquid glue, craft glue, or even tape. Any of that will do. And then you'll need some way to cut the paper, so scissors or even just tearing the paper can create a cool texture as well. As you're going through your recyclables, if you find any thicker paper, cardstock, or even cardboard, that is really useful to use as a base as you add and glue things onto it so it doesn't get all wet and crinkled and deformed. Some people are just going to run with it and start creating once they have supplies in front of them, but if you need some inspiration, here are some different ways to get started. The first way that you can start collaging is to think of collaging materials as colors. They are like markers or crayons. So you can start by outlining, a shape that you want to fill in. Maybe it's a heart, a dog. Maybe it could be a complex, scenery of architecture, whatever it may be. You are going to fill in the lines that you drew with the colors from different collaging materials. Another method is to just start by finding things that you find interesting. So images that you think are pretty, words that you find intriguing, and then just throw them on the page in different configurations. Sit with it. How does that look? How does that make you feel? What does that evoke? And then just keep moving things around and keep reflecting. How does this make me feel? What is it if I add this? What if I remove that? And so then collaging becomes a process for studying composition. It becomes a process of tuning into what you like, what makes you feel good. My last method, which is what I'm going to be doing today, is to just completely fill the page with different colors, textures, and leave no part of the page white, and then it becomes this beautiful backdrop that you can then add, a list or words or whatever. It just becomes a background. That is what I'll do today, and that is what I'm going to show you now. What I'm working on here is a part of a gift from my friend Becca. I sewed her this hanging wall organizer for her to put her painting and craft supplies in. And at the top of the organizer, I wanted to put a little list of things she can do as a ritual to set up her space and get her in the mood for creating. I'll go ahead and show you what the end product ended up looking like and walk you through how I got there. So first I had a piece of that calendar I was talking about as my thicker cardstock backing, and I found colors that I wanted. My friend, who I'm making this for, likes jewel tones, so I found purples, dark blues, deep reds, and rich greens from the calendar and magazine snippets. I didn't really care what shapes I cut out, so I just cut random rectangles and triangles and laid them on my cardstock backing, not gluing anything yet. As I started filling up my cardstock, I played with stacking different shapes on top versus underneath each other. It's been really interesting making these videos because I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm committing to posting one video a month for 2026 to see what happens and to see what I learn through the process. I think collaging goes best with a similar attitude. You don't really know what's going to happen, and even if it will produce anything worthwhile, but you just trust that you'll learn something about yourself in the process and have some fun while doing it. Alright, at this point I had enough scraps of paper to fill up all of the white spaces on my cardstock. I messed around with the placement, and I feel good about this combination of textures and colors, so I'm going to start gluing. I'm not that concerned about what goes where, but I will tune in with myself and check to see what feels right to me. I'll skip ahead a bit because I think you get the idea. In one of the magazines I collaged from, I found this adorable orange sun that was embroidered onto some fabric. I'm really glad I was able to add that to this collage piece. Like I said, it's for my friend, and she always reminds me of a bright shining sun with her welcoming and friendly personality. Lastly, I want to add words, so I wrote down a list of things to do to set a creative mood on some printer paper and cut each line out separately. In my last video, we went over some ways to set core values to ground your year and to make all of your goals and activities tie back to 3 values that are the most important to you. This kind of collage is a great way to display those 3 core values so you can keep looking at them and reflecting on how you're aligning your actions with your values. This is what my piece looked like before I glued it down, and this is what it looked like when I was all done. If you enjoyed this video and learned something new, please give this video a like. And if you want to see more videos on how to live life in an intentional, meaningful, and creative way, then please subscribe to this channel.